So yeah. Ryan, do you want to kick things off, or
So my preview is on IGN. I got to put that out there. You and I actually haven't talked about Fable.
We haven't
been able to connect. So
yeah.
I want to hear what you thought of that 30-minute behind closed doors demo that it was all life sim stuff. So all the relationship, like they showed they called it the game within the game. So what did you think?
Ooh, what did I think? This is kind of what you would want out of Fable. So they showed us going into the town of Silverbrook, and all of the mechanisms of how NPCs live in that world were all happening in front of us in a live demo. So someone from Playground was playing the game in front of us.
On a Series X as well.
On a Series X, yes. It was like 4K, super high quality, 30 FPS, but they did say that there is going to be a performance mode for 60 FPS, but they just said, we want it to look as pretty as possible for this demo specifically, and it looks beautiful. I mean, it's running on the Forza Tech engine. It's going to look beautiful, and I have high hopes that the performance mode will look great as well, because that such is the case with Forza, but they also talked about how much more dense this game is. Like, they have to work with NPCs, character models, all these different moving parts all at the same time, and seeing it happen full force, like in front of you, it's really interesting. I don't think it got me more hyped for the game, because as I said at the live show, the thing I'm more hyped about is that story trailer was fantastic. That is exactly what I wanted to see before jumping into Fable. But seeing the life sim stuff, now I have a better understanding of how the game works, and so it's so fascinating. I guess I want to start with how NPCs, or how that world accounts for your behaviors, because as they have stressed many times in the past, they're not doing a straight good or bad morality system, of course, but they're doing what are called traits and reputation. So the things you do, the choices you make, you will have adjectives attached to you and the people's perception of you in specific towns. So they stress a lot about local reputation. From town to town, you could have different reputations. And it could be things like shrewd, being kind, being aggressive, like any adjective you can describe a person's behavior. I think it is accounted for in Fable, and the choices you make, again, will attach certain adjectives to you, reputations. And so different NPCs will perceive those specific adjectives, those specific reputations differently. So this is what they talk about a lot when they're talking about, it's all gray. There's like, being good doesn't give you access to persuading people in a certain way, and being bad doesn't let you coerce everybody. It's just more like the NPC's perception of you will affect how you interact with them. So for example, like the barmaid at the town is really, she likes kind and generous people. So the demo opens up. I help this houseless man sitting on the floor. It's like, I'll give you a couple bucks. Also, you know what? I'm gonna help you get a job. So you have this reputation of being kind, being generous. You go to the barmaid afterwards and you're trying to talk it up with her, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I heard you're a really kind man." It's like, all right, you already like me. And then you go to the seamstress in the town, and she's apparently like a wild capitalist, very mean, and she's like mean mugging you. It's like, I don't like generous people who just give money away. You're out of touch with society. So again, being kind is going to be perceived in different ways. And so when the seamstress, I'm looking for like outfits and armor, I had a 80% increase in the prices at the shop because she did not like me.
Oh,
and that is because and that is because I was being kind and generous to everyone in town. So I'm like, oh man, yeah, I guess being good is not advantageous outright. Being bad doesn't give you specific advantages. Again, it's just like this free-flowing nature of how NPCs perceive the reputation you've created for yourself in that town. And I think that's really interesting. Now, the other thing, too, is how relationships work. So the barmaid was interested in me, and I forgot, there was another NPC who actually wanted to chop it up with. I think she was like the item shop owner.
Yeah, the general store.
The general store owner. Yeah, Megan. They really stress wanting to date Megan. And so she was interested in me because of my traits, but she also had certain requirements. Listen.
She's got high standards.
She's got high standards. And, on the apps, Some people have high standards, and you know what? I respect that. If you know what you're looking for, it's all good. Maybe I don't fit into that, and we just move on with our lives. I respect that. I'm not here to waste anyone's time. Also, this is not me pitching myself on the apps, but you will have to pitch yourself on the Fable apps. Listen, they don't got Hinge in the world of Fable, but they do have reputations. So, but yeah, she's like, oh, I'm interested in you, but I don't think I don't know if you got what I'm looking for. And you know what? That's happened in real life, and that happens in this game. And so she was like, she wants someone who dresses nice. She wants someone who is a homeowner, which that ain't happening out here in San Francisco, but I'm sorry to break it to you. And she wants someone who's like in the business of the town. So she wants someone who's like established in this area. Listen, I get it. Long distance works. It's hard to work out. So part of that is having to do those things before you can swoon the person. And then they showed us like, okay, we're going to get some nice clothes. We're going to buy this house, and we're going to actually buy out the bar. So the item shop owner's like, oh, you're the owner of the bar. And then that's how you can get, I guess, her to date you. And so, yeah, so you see all these moving parts working. The thing that I'm more curious about, and we asked them, we had a Q&A afterwards, is like, at some point, does this feel too mechanical to where I am just, playing it up so I can get the checklist of things done so I can date the person rather than going through the motions of an actual relationship and conversation, like progression? Because like once we check those boxes, we went on a date and it's like, oh, we're in a relationship now. And so we were trying to dig into like, okay, that's cool. That works. But how does this get more complex? How does this kind of grow as you go on into the game? Because again, this is like early stuff in the game. So it's cool to see all that stuff working. But I want to see how it evolves, how it gets more complex, how if there's more variables and mechanisms to work with, and how this changes from town to town.
Yeah, I saw the same demo, and sadly they made the same choices, right? So you and I, even though we were in separate sessions, effectively got the same thing. But for me, so I would love for everybody to go check out my video preview on IGN or on youtube.com/IGN, or go ahead and read it on the website. But yeah, I mean, I came away, I was already, I said it live on stage. This is my number one most anticipated game that Xbox has, period. I'm not going to count Elder Scrolls 6 in that because that's still a pipe dream at this point. But this demo did nothing to dissuade my hype level. Seeing all these mechanics in action, as you're talking about, Michael, just only reinforced like, yep, this is such a unique and really important part of what makes Fable, and they seem to have nailed it. So I love that. My only concern, I don't want to just be like, oh, what was the bad thing? But just to avoid overhyping the heck out of this.
Yeah. My
one concern, which was not really dissuaded at the end of the demo. So at the end of the demo, as further evidence of look how fluid this relationship system is. The demo driver, the Playground Games associate game director that was driving the bus here, just pulled out the bow and arrow, the hero's bow and arrow, and just fired off a couple random arrows in the air. And that like people started, the NPCs, the townsfolk were like screaming and starting to freak out. And then he shot one of them in the knee and brought that guy down. And then the guards swarm and it turns into this big fight. And he starts doing some melee combat with the sword and some magical abilities, some spells and stuff. And I just need to get my hands on the controller for it because Playground has never built combat before. I'm not saying these developers haven't. Some of them maybe have worked on combat stuff in other games. I don't know. But as a studio, Playground's never done combat. And I will say, and this is totally subjective, people may disagree. Michael, you may disagree. I don't know. But watching the combat, it's got a little bit of the problem that the Outer Worlds 2 had in its one of its older showings before it actually came out, where for me the combat animations there's like not enough weight to them. Like it doesn't seem like the blows really land. If that makes sense. I'm probably not explaining this well, but that's my one little thing where I'm like, it doesn't look like there's like these hits are actually like really hitting, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, because like the feedback and the impact of feeling the hits, like that's something that you have to like feel for yourself. And
exactly.
Sometimes that just doesn't get across when watching gameplay that somebody else is playing.
Yeah.
But I do get what you're saying, and I'm thinking a little bit back to it. So yeah, that maybe that's that'll be because I'm kind of thinking of Final Fantasy 16, its action combat, where it does have like it has a similar kind of flow or vibe as Fable does. Of course, that was more of like a DMC Platinum style action game with Final Fantasy 16. Here, it's a little bit more of a grounded RPG, I guess, for lack of a better term. So yeah, that is something I'm looking at, but at least I think I got to see how the abilities all flow with each other, and they had some really cool ones equipped.
If our producer Tayo fast forwards to almost the very end of this clip, that's all the combat that we're talking about. I know this is a 30. Oh, yeah. This is a 30-minute video.
Sorry, I'm keeping Tayo busy. If you guys notice, my camera's having some issues.
Poor Miranda's camera went out, so we're working on that behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So yeah, here you go. Thank you, Tayo. Go ahead, Michael. Here's the combat playing for the people watching this on video.
Yes. If you're watching on video, or if you're just listening, there's like a ground pound that's like an AoE that like floats people up into the air, kind of makes them moving targets. And then you always have a bow and arrow, and the bow and arrow actually does a lot of damage. It's not just like something that you resort to because you need range combat. And there's also like throwing fireballs and kind of like this warp strike that is like reminiscent of Final Fantasy 15 and 16. So it feels like there's a lot of options going on here. I like that flow of abilities. Of course, I want to see how it gets more complex or how it gets customizable, how you can string all these different abilities together. But we got hints of it in trailers in the past, but now to actually see it moment to moment, I'm like, oh yes, this is kind of, I can sink my teeth into this. And I think kind of creating your own more or less attack rotation is one of the things I'm looking forward to, because I could use the ground pound, start juggling enemies in the air. Like that's cool. And then throwing the fireball and like all these other things, like that warp strike looked actually kind of sick. Is there going to be like a combo system? And how often am I going to be able to like swap in new abilities? And how is that all going to make sense with the way I'm playing the game? At least what I'll say about because there was only like 2 minutes of combat,
right?
But I'm just curious how that will evolve. Like because I had this problem with Final Fantasy 16 where I got to a certain point where it's like, oh, this works for me. Like this specific loadout works for me. And that was about like early to mid half of the game. And like I swap in some abilities here and there that might work a little bit better. But generally I was like, this is how I'm going to play the rest of the game. And it didn't exactly evolve too much until like the very, very end. So that's one of the things with that I'm thinking about with Fable. Of course, they said that, hey, we kind of built a loadout for demo purposes. Like at this point in the game, you're probably not going to have all these abilities, but they at least wanted to show them off. So again, I think the thing especially with long RPGs, Fable's going to be a very long game. When it comes to combat, like they can nail the feel to it, but you also need to nail the progression of it. And of course, that's not going to be necessarily shown in a 20-25 minute demo,
right?
But at least I see that it's got some of the sauce that I'm looking for in an RPG, and I want to see what those skill trees look like.
Yeah, that matters a ton.
And I want to be like super clear. I am not saying the combat is bad at all. I'm just it's the one thing I'm a little concerned about, having not played it yet. So I'm hopefully it's all going to be awesome. It's all going to be great. And this is going to be another Playground Games 10 out of 10. That's what I want, because that's what I want Fable to be, is a 10 out of 10 video game.
Yeah. Tell us about the pig though.
Oh my God. This was probably
a pig.
This was my favorite part of the whole thing. So it's as soon as you walk into town, so the demo starts and you're outside of town, and you just we were seeing a little bit of it here on video, and you just slowly horseback ride into town, and it's this beautiful idyllic British countryside. Here we go, British countryside inspired town. Here's my preview right here, and it's just stunning. It's spectacular. This game looks, I can't stress enough how gorgeous this game is. It is absolutely just, and seeing it running live in front of me on a Series X is that was awesome. And so you the first thing you do, you come into the town, and there's a butcher and a boy arguing. And so you walk over, and the boy's like, "Hey, this is Colin the pig. You can't butcher him. He learned he can talk." And
He's just
Colin's
speaking
like,
English.
"Well, I just learned how to talk. Like, this is a recent development. And if you kill, who knows what more I'm capable of? If you kill me, we'll never find out what I'm capable of." And it was just so Fable, and it was so funny and charming. And then you get the choice of whether or not you kill him or spare him. And so I'm in my demo group was like, I don't know, 8 people or something. That's how big these little sessions are.
Yeah.
And the playground guys go, "All right, who wants to let Colin the pig live?" One person raised their hand.
Oh,
And I was like, "Yeah, I want to see what happens when you kill the pig."
No.
And so the playground guy was like, "Well, we hadn't accounted for this. We didn't think people would actually vote this way." So this demo, it was set up for them they just picked that he survived.
Yeah.
So
you have to say, yeah,
which is fine. So Ralph Fulton, the game director and the studio head, who, goes back to the origins of Playground. He did all the early Forza Horizon games. So I've known Ralph professionally for a very, very long time. And so he was sitting in the back corner of the room, just like sort of observing. And so I turned and I gave Ralph a bit of crap. I was like, since there's no dog in the game, it would be really cool if you could spare Colin the pig, the talking pig, and have him be your sidekick through the whole game. And so he got a laugh out of that, and so did I. But yeah, like if there's stuff like this in all of the different regions of the game, I'm gonna be on cloud 9, because this was just such a fun. Such a fun encounter. And so then, yeah, you spare him, but the butcher's like, "Well, I'm not letting this pig go for free. I'm running a business here." And so you got to buy him. You have to buy Colin the pig. And then, unfortunately, it seems like when you buy him, you're buying his freedom, and you don't see Colin the pig anymore. Who knows? Maybe he turns up again later if you spare him. We don't know. But yeah, Michael, I just love that moment. And that was like right at the beginning of the demo.
Yeah. And again, it established a lot of different things, like the whimsy of the Fable world, the choices that you make, and like the UI elements when you make these decisions, where you basically say like, "Oh no, don't hurt Colin. He's look at him. He's just a little guy."
He's pretty big. He's pretty big.
he's just a big little guy.
Big
you
little
get a lot of bacon out of him if
being a little guy is not about size; it's about what's in your heart.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really funny, and it was like, yeah, I think this is like what you're looking for out of Fable, this whimsy and sort of this branching choice sort of thing, and seeing all like how the mechanics just manifest in that world was just like one of the things I wanted answered. And so I think this was like, again, like I said, it's not necessarily a demo to get you hyped for the game, but it's more of a demo to like help you understand what they're working with. And yeah, a couple other things like we asked in our Q&A was someone asked, this is a fantastic question. It's like, "Oh yeah, so like moving to February, what did that afford you? And was it really GTA 6? And Ralph just straight up said like, "Yeah, we needed to get out of the way for GTA 6. It's like, of course. So but then talking about like, I was asking a lot of questions about, we saw a lot of the mechanics. Does this feed into the main story? And how do these things spill over? And they're like, "Yeah, we can't really get into spoilers. That's not what this demo is about. But, there are ways in which your reputations in these towns will not necessarily like affect the outcomes of the story. Rather, they said like there are branching paths that lead you that will happen throughout the story affected by your reputations. So that will kind of like go in and out in different directions, but then lead up into the same moment." So that's just kind of how the game is structured. But again, like I think that is also another thing I'm looking for. It's like, how do the choices I make, how do they matter? That's like the case with any RPG. But from what they've shown so far, I'm just glad that they are thinking about that, and they're working with a lot more complex systems. So yeah, I don't know. Fable, like I'm not that I was any more hyped than I already was, but at least I have a better understanding of how this game works.
Yeah, I'm just as pumped for this as I was heading in. And this is, you will not, if you want to find me on February 23rd or whatever the early access day is, you got to look on Xbox, because that's where I'm going to be. I'm not going to be at work. I'm not going to be doing anything else except playing Fable. I can't wait for this.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Unlocked, IGN's weekly Xbox show. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to watch the full episode at youtube.com/IGN Games. New episodes of Unlocked drop every Thursday on IGN Games, IGN.com, and your favorite podcast platforms. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.